Welcome to Standard Intelligence, your resource for competitive constructed magic in the UK. This is episode 72 for the week beginning the 1st of April 2019. I'm Dr. Jack Patton.
And I'm Simeon Beaver. This episode is brought to you in part thanks to our supporters on our Patreon. Many thanks to those of you who have made a contribution. It is immensely appreciated by both of us. Anyone who's our supporter on Patreon by the 7th of May will be eligible for a May draw. If you'd like to learn more about how to support us, please head over to patreon.com/SIcast. We're also sponsored by the largest tournament organisers in the UK, Axion Now. Axion Now have run some of the best events in the UK, from FNMs and PPTQs to Nationals, and they're now legendary Mega Modern events. So we're very happy to have them on board as our sponsors.
Exactly, Simeon. And apart from being at the centre of a community of Magic players of all skill levels, they also sell singles, sealed product, and all the equipment you may need to play tabletop Magic. Head over to axionnow.com to find out more.
And as our regular listeners know by now, we're doing a giveaway each month. And thanks to our sponsors Axion Now, we're able to give away £15 of Axion credit. It's now time for the April draw. Jack, do you have a number for me?
I have, if you could pick out of 11.
Out of 11? 1.
1 is Adam. Amazingly enough, the list is organised alphabetically this week, and Adam has managed to take home the prize, so congratulations there. Obviously, our first patron there, reaping the benefits, so congratulations.
Excellent. And with that completed, let's get right into the news for Magic this week. Okay, so the big piece of news from last weekend, it was the Magic Invitational, so the Mythic Invitational. New format, duo standard, new idea of just showing games on Arena, new production values, perhaps, definitely new hosts. How did we think it went? Let's go with an overall view first, Jack. A brief one-sentence overview of how was it?
This is the future of Magic, and it's good.
I will, the future of Magic is here, sort of thing.
Yeah.
At 125-ish thousand viewers at peak. Just incredible.
Yeah, well, we broke like 60,000 on Thursday.
Yes.
You know, that's kind of crazy, actually. Now we're entering a new era for Magic and what it means to be a top level competitor and a viewer, I think, of Magic. What it means to be a viewer of Magic is going to change, and hopefully it's going to improve. What we saw at the weekend is very encouraging as far as I'm concerned.
It was. There was one thing, though, that was not in my mind, and that was the format they were playing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Look, I didn't want to be too much of a downer on it when it was announced, but
Oddly, I felt that the streamers and the invitees were more innovative in their deck choices and what they were doing than the pros had been.
What we actually ended up seeing a lot of throughout basically the entirety, certainly on Thursday, this was the story, and I feel like it was basically the story for the rest of the event as well. It's players mostly had an Esper control list. It mostly wasn't the Acuity lists, it was just an Esper control list with Mastermind's acquisitions in it, and then also an aggro list of some variety, and that would either be mono red or mono white generally. And then obviously, as you say, actually the personalities and the streamers actually came out with a lot more varied things. There was a Gruul Dinos deck, which I loved. I thought that was excellent. And there were a few other like Gruul Warriors things going on, and I'm sitting here going, yeah, we've been singing the praises of Gruul Warriors for a little while now. You know, we really liked the Gruul decks, so it's good to see them coming out at the Mythic Invitational. And certainly day one story was obviously the fact that all of these personalities started just racing through the field and top 16ing on day one. It kind of slowed down quite a lot on day two, and then obviously with Mengucci winning it does feel a little bit like, in the end, the people with literally decades of high-level competitive experience are probably going to win out, as long as there isn't some massive disparity in deck choices. And there wasn't. People knew enough to know what was going on, and this one control, one aggro thing was fairly common.
The move to top 16, essentially the split was pretty much the same as it had been at the start in terms of streamers people who had won the top 8 of the first season or the pre-season of Arena and the MPL. They stayed in approximately the same percentage levels through to the top 16. When we got to the top 4, it was a bit different. And Thundermo played Esper Acuity as both his decks.
Right, yeah.
Which looked from watching streaming that was the deck to be on. And that did well against everything.
It died real hard to an actual Esper control list. That was basically what I saw BBD saying. It was like, this deck crushes any creature deck and loses basically on the spot to any deck that can counter my spells.
Which is sort of what happened.
Exactly.
I would have run. I loved the fact there were people playing some Selesnya tokens.
Yes.
And some of them got through. Amazonian was playing Selesnya tokens and got into top 16. That was where I was cheering. I have to say, as it was, watch another Esper mirror, or watch a aggro mirror, or watch Esper against aggro for the 40 millionth time, I wanted to hit someone.
Yeah, I got bored pretty quickly of the actual games of Magic.
But that's true of a lot of standard formats.
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
There are 3 decks. And I think maybe because I knew I was never going to be playing this format,
you're not looking at it you're not looking at it to learn from it, which is definitely something that happens at like Pro Tours and things. You go, no, I'm going to need to understand what these decks are, because they're the decks that I'm going to be fighting for the next 2 to 3 months.
So when we had, I don't know, say Mono Red completely dominated the Pro Tour, and it was like lots and lots and lots of Mono Red mirrors, I didn't get bored by that. There were lots of people complaining about it. I didn't get bored because I'm like, no, I want to see where the interactions are. What do I need to know how to do? And here maybe it was a case of, yes, I've seen this matchup, show me something different. But they couldn't show you something different because lots of people had the same pair of decks to all intents and purposes.
Yes.
There was a bit of is mono white better or mono red better? But beyond that, there wasn't much dispute.
No, the game plan of have a control deck, have an aggro deck, and then probably, if you make it to a game 3, always pick the control deck.
Yes. Other than that issue with the format, so please, Wizards, hopefully they don't go, it was really successful, so that means Geo Standard was successful. That I mean, they do lots of market research. They should be able to tell what made it successful.
Yeah.
Also, that obviously neither you or I can answer this. What did people who don't play Magic think of it?
Yes.
Or people who only ever play on a kitchen table. What were their opinions? If they loved Geo Standard, they might have done.
Yeah.
We could be very much on the outside here. So that's the side of it we don't know the answer to. But from a competitive point of view, I didn't like the format, but I did love everything else about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt the way they'd set up the commentary and things like that were really excellent, and it was really great to see, swapping between the various personalities who have all got like different jobs, Kibler and Day 9 MCing almost, and the pair of them discussing the format in the downtime, and then doing things like commentating on the time shifted matches and things like that.
The time shifted matches were great. The sped up matches were great.
Yeah.
There was a real attempt to not give us too much downtime. It could have gone better.
Yeah, it sort of worked. There was a lot less dead air time than there was at, say, the last Pro Tour.
There was a bit too much of, we're going to go to games, and it took 5 more minutes or 10 more minutes before the game actually started, because they were waiting for everyone to start at once. Yes. And you'd have 2-3 minutes of both players sat there with their opening hands in front of them. We've talked about the opening hands on commentary, and nothing's happening yet.
Yeah, the last thing remaining to talk about is what are you getting for lunch.
Yeah, it's that bit I'd like to cut out. I want to go, the one you've got on camera, get it going once they're ready.
Yeah. If they're off of time with everyone else, as long as it's not by more than the inter-round time, it doesn't super matter.
But if they're ahead of everyone else, it definitely doesn't matter.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And at a GP, when you have feature matches, they're 10 minutes behind everyone else. But yeah, minor quibbles. But overall we're very positive, and hopefully everyone else is positive too.
Exactly. It sounds like everyone else has been very positive about the whole thing. So
moving on. We also today, Tuesday when we're recording, had announcements of the third quarter formats for GPs. Yay! Yeah.
So obviously for our listeners, the chances are you're mostly interested in the EU events. We've got 4 GPs coming up in that 3-month period, obviously up until
end of September.
Yes, this leads up to the end of September, but we've already had the formats confirmed up until the beginning of July. So go and check those out. But the newest ones, Krakow, Barcelona, Birmingham, and Ghent are our new ones. Krakow is limited, Barcelona and Birmingham are modern, and then Ghent is team modern. So you'll notice that there's no standard in there.
And there's one standard GP in the whole quarter again.
Mm-hmm.
I just...
Yeah, I am really distinctly unimpressed.
I mean, I'm aware that standard was not popular last year, but it was a bad standard. Disappointing. I mean, not unexpected. Believe me,
unfortunately not
I
unexpected.
was pretty certain Birmingham was going to be modern. Should we go into the other things they announced as well?
So the first thing that I kind of want to call out is digital deck lists. This is a really good idea. We've had digital deck lists, like deck list submissions before, but they are now saying they will only accept digital deck lists. This is good for judges because it means that hopefully their jobs will be a little bit easier with like sorting and keeping hold of all of the deck lists, etc., for deck checks and that kind of thing. It's also going to be really good for coverage. Frank Carsten actually tweeted earlier saying like, this is so good for me. This is going to be so helpful.
Well, we know ourselves from typing up deck lists just for our show that if you get them already on a computer and you can just copy paste, it's so much easier.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing that it's obviously good for is that they're continuing to have video coverage and showing what happened at the weekend at the Invitational with the Cardboard Live overlay, which I want to say, again, that was another fantastic idea. I am so glad Wizards picked up Cardboard Live there. We could be seeing it at CFB, Channel Fireball Magic Fests over the next few months. Again, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a very good thing. And having digital deck lists really helps with that.
But don't expect there to be video coverage at a European GP. What else did we want to talk about?
So the changes to the prize ticks and side event prize structure. They've basically said that there's not enough distinction in the way that pricing of things on prize walls worked. The lowest denomination being 10 ticks and also being equivalent to a pack of the current standard set has made it a little bit hard to price things in a way that they would consider correct.
Reasonable. I can understand that.
And exactly, I could understand that. If you're like, oh, well, especially because they've got, individual cards on offer. And they're like, okay, well, this individual card is worth, like, say, £10. We can try and sell it for 30 ticks where we're actually giving people a little bit more value, or we can try and sell it for
40 ticks, where really 40 that's ticks, really expensive.
And it's exactly, and it's a little bit like, could we drop somewhere in the middle? And I actually know that obviously that's not actually how they do the pricing of the individual card prices. If you have ever been to a GP, you'll know that if you did the conversion to pounds, because obviously English, that's what I've mostly done, 10 ticks is worth £3 as packs, and that includes if you're trying to buy older sets. If you're buying the packs, 10 ticks is normally still £3. So if a pack is worth £6, you need to pay 20 ticks for it. But if you're getting specific cards, 10 ticks actually works out to be closer to £1 generally.
Yeah, but again, they'd probably still like it to be 10 ticks is 50p.
Yeah, exactly.
Generally, because it gives them a greater flexibility. And things like a t-shirt. Is it 30 ticks or 40 ticks? That's a big difference in price of the t-shirt and those sorts of things. So I understand why they're doing it. They've essentially doubled how many ticks you get for a record at a side event. So
there's a slight bunching towards the middle in terms of value, i.e. your 3 and O's are losing a little bit of value and your 1 and 2s are gaining a little bit of value, but in actuality you're not changing too much.
Am I wrong in thinking that this is actually just an old double up tickets?
I think
Oh no, you wouldn't have got 55 tickets. So no, the 111 has to be slightly different. Maybe it's 10 less at 111 or 10 more.
Yeah, I think it's like 10 more.
But frankly, it's as good as, damn it, to what the double ups were, and then you'll double that up in the double ups.
Yeah, and they're also changing, or at least they're sort of codifying something that we've already had, and that's buying more packs as a lump is generally better for you, and that is 20 ticks for a pack or 3 for 50 ticks.
Which is great.
Because it's been on and off at GPs. You know, sometimes at a GP, like, as we said, Birmingham last year or the year before was like, take this 180 tick single ticket and you'll be able to get half a box. 150 tick ticket and you'll be able to get half a box. And what that made it work out as is if you got one of these 150 tickets, it was actually worth about 180 as long as you just wanted packs. And most of the time I just wanted packs. So I was happy to do that kind of thing.
A 2 and a draw double up will get you a box. Yeah. Which is exactly what, two and a draw for normal events will be half a box, and for a double up will be a box, a whole box. Though the Fnatic packages have been changed slightly in that you can only do 2 double up events with them, which is okay. That's a slight disappointment, but you can always pay for the other double up on top if you really have to.
If you're even still interested in doing another double up,
and that means
you're still getting 3 regular event vouchers. You're going to be playing a lot of Magic with these things.
It's only for those who would normally do the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday double ups that's going to affect.
Exactly.
Which the Friday double up was always not hugely popular, not compared with Saturday and Sunday. Anyway.
Yeah. As a man who enjoyed the grind, though, that was always such good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But then also some people then go home on Sunday, so they don't get to do double up on Sunday.
Exactly.
So I can see why that's how they've dropped it, how they've changed it. They've also sort of set a cost.
Yes, and I quite like that they're basically saying, this is what it's going to be for the foreseeable future. And because we've had slight discrepancies between various GPs, and it's always been a little bit confusing as to what's going on and what you're getting and how much you're meant to be paying for it and that kind of thing. So yeah, constructed Fnatic packages, $100 or 95 euros, pre-reg. This is Fnatic 150 or 140 euros. And then Commander, $100, and there's no not available in all regions. There's a big asterisk.
I see.
To it.
Okay, so that's why it's not listed in Europe.
So if you're looking for a constructive Commander Fnatic, chances are you're not getting it.
I think that's more to do with space and whether they can fit the number of Commander players in that they would have if they have the Fnatic package.
There's been a lot of discussion about space for Commander players recently, and I do fully understand their plight because I've definitely tried to just sit down.
Equally saying that,
just play a random set.
They have said that they will be dedicating an area at each Magic Fest for casual play.
Excellent.
So that is a very positive step as well, that they will only take over if they absolutely have to.
So yeah, if you're interested in Commander and casual player at these events, do go and check out their announcement, because it looks very pleasant. It looks like good things coming.
Anything else in news you want to discuss?
So yes, we did actually have a recent event finish. It took a whole month, and that is the first full official arena season that qualifies you for a Mythic qualifier weekend. Those are the events to be held on Arena in some announced time at the, I believe, end of July period is end of May, beginning of June is, I think, what Wizards announced for the first one, but no specific dates. And they will have all of the people who have qualified through the arena seasons of play so far, playing down to the top 128, who will then play a tournament on the Sunday of these weekends. And so yeah, we've had our first expected 2,000 people qualify this last weekend, as both constructed and limited ranked ladders reset, and everyone in the top 1,000 of Mythic ranking in both limited and constructed should now have their tokens for entry into the first of these Mythic
obviously
weekends, which is kind of
that
cool.
won't be 2,000 players, because
some of them will have gotten both.
A not insignificant number will have achieved top 1,000 in limited and constructed somehow.
Yes, exactly. And you can only qualify once, obviously. So yeah, it was. It's done. The first one is done. Obviously, we've got this month's set of top 1,000s who will also be added to that pile of players, and they will go on to play for a space at the 52 player.
Can't remember. Something sounds
Mythic,
right.
Yeah. 52 player Arena Mythic Championships coming up sometime in July, I want to say the first one is. I cannot remember. It's been a while.
We've had quite a few announcements since then.
We've had some announcements.
And unfortunately, I definitely won't be there because I didn't get past Platinum.
Okay, then. Even with that sweet Selesnya tokens
Even
deck
with that sweet Selesnya tokens deck, which I still have been doing a 65% win rate with, went slightly lower down in Platinum than it did in Gold, but there we go. Yeah, I just didn't play enough, essentially. Nowhere near enough.
Well, I played 135 matches in the last 5 days of the league.
Which is probably close to the number I played in total.
And at that point, I had already been basically in the top 1,000 of Mythic. I started at 99% at the start of those 5 days. Actually, last Tuesday or Wednesday, I was 500th. Unfortunately, of those 135, I only won 59 of the matches, and so ended up in the mid 80% of the league, which is it's unfortunate. It's disappointing.
But you almost got there.
I did. I was pretty close. I feel pretty vindicated for putting myself up for trying, and I'll be trying again this season, obviously. Like I say, unfortunate that I didn't get there. If I'm being brutally honest, my problem was that I didn't recognise the meta shift as much as I should have. So obviously I had made it into Mythic with Selesnya tokens because I thought it was very well positioned and it kept crushing. Occasionally I would switch to Gruul if I ended up fighting, a few decks that I didn't particularly like fighting with Selesnya tokens. Control is pretty bad for Selesnya tokens. It's not unwinnable by any means, but it's not great either. Whereas Gruul has some really good outs against control decks, and so I switched to that occasionally. But what I ended up fighting most of the time was a mix of Esper Control and Wilderness Reclamation decks, and now it was just all of the different types of Wilderness Reclamation. We had Bamf Fog, we had Temur Fog, we had Temur No Nexus, we had what was the other? Classic Temur with Nexus, but no fogs.
Yeah. The Team Reclamation
expansion.
The Team Reclamation deck doesn't have fogs in it.
No, exactly. Not normally. Sometimes they do, and I get really blown out by it.
I played it just today. Turn 4.
Yeah.
They it must have been turn 5s both games that they went off, and I didn't get another turn. It was very annoying.
Yep. And I mean, not to get into it again, but that is my point. It's the fact that you've lost the game by turn 4. It just takes 20 minutes. And I didn't recognise that what I should have been doing is swapping back to Sultai. Because the reason I stopped playing Sultai was not Control, it was not Wilderness Reclamation. Those are not fantastic matchups, but I know the decks well enough to be able to fight through them. And I actually found that of the decks that I played over the course of that 5-day period, from the 27th to the end of the season, when I was really pushing for top 1,000, Sultai was the one with the best win percentage, with something like a 55%, 60% win ratio or something like that. My other decks were all just dying on their faces because we can't deal with this Wilderness Reclamation stuff, whereas Sultai has options, and I know the deck very well. The problem, realistically, is that I forgot why I stopped playing Sultai, and the reason I stopped playing Sultai was purely mono blue.
And Mono Blue has disappeared. I haven't seen Mono Blue for quite some time.
Yeah, I played one Mono Blue deck in 135 matches.
So,
like, that's how far Mono Blue is gone. It is a metagame call, and at the moment, the metagame is wrong for it, it seems. I would argue that if I was any good with the deck, I would have absolutely played it into that field. You know, Mono Blue is medium against Esper. Obviously, it's like 50-50 against Esper control. Reclamation decks, it smashes because they have nowhere near the number of counterspells they need to. And then Sultai, obviously, it just walks all over. That's the reason.
So you're saying you need to do is keep a careful track, like not I'm going to remember what I played against track, but an actual proper track of what decks you're playing and maybe what times you're playing at.
It definitely felt like between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. UK time, the Wilderness Reclamation decks came out to play during the week. Like that. That is what it felt like.
And you want to actually have the actual hard data to go. It doesn't just feel like that. I can tell it is. I can tell that 60% of decks I've played when I've been playing at these sorts of times have been Team Reclamation. Right, I will play a deck that's good against that Team Reclamation. And if you then happen to get matched up against 3 consecutive aggro decks, you just go, grrr! But you've at least shown the data is there.
Yes, yeah.
And you sort of want to keep a once you're in that mythic point of making that race for top 1,000, be a little more detailed in your note making.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was something that I wasn't doing, and I think that ended up hurting me. Like I say, I was just really slow.
It's also really helpful to go
the obvious meta.
Oh, I've played this deck 3 times and I haven't beaten it yet. Can I make a tweak to my deck? Is it coming up very often? Do I need to make that tweak to my deck? And be a little more on top of what's going on instead of just game.
Yes, that was definitely a mistake that I made on Friday. And that was, I lost, jump back in. I think I was angry playing.
No, not good.
Which is terrible. And B, I wasn't considering how to adjust anything. By the time it got to Saturday at like 5 p.m, I'd started thinking again, which was unfortunate because I'd also dropped down to about 83%. It was awful.
You also need to give yourself a rule of, if I lose 2 in a row, I get up and I walk away for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's something that I need. But Saturday night, I started thinking again, and I was like, okay, hold on. Mono Blue's gone, which is why these Reclamation decks are everywhere. Why are we not playing Sultai, which I, A, know how to play, B, smashes any random mid-range decks that I come up against? Because, again, I know what I'm doing with the deck. And C, I can tune it to this metagame of Control and Wilderness Reclamation. That's what I did. My Sultai mid-range deck had no cast downs in the main board, but 3 Assassin's Trophies in the main board. Because I was like, against Control and Reclamation, cast down is dead, Assassin's Trophy is always live, and this was actually something that came up in BBD's article about Best of Ones last week. He was like, Sultai and Golgari decks have started going back to just playing Assassin's Trophy, because giving a person a land is not actually the end of the world, as modern players will tell you with Path of Exile. It's Path to Exile. Path of Exile is a game. It's the ability to remove anything and not be a dead card is very much worth being able to say, okay, Mr. Mono Red person, I'm afraid that, yes, you have managed to land a runaway Steamkin or something. That needs to die. And as much as I would like to cast it down, I'm going to give you a mountain instead. The problem is, red decks don't, if you're in that sort of situation, the aggro deck can't use the land very well most of the time.
Until they also hit the frenzy, and then they can.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, most of the time I tried to hold
the trophy for the frenzy.
Yeah. But again, that's the point. The trophy can kill the frenzy, and you've got 3 extra answers in your main deck to this very powerful, kind of busted red draw spell. So yeah, as much as I don't like giving my opponents a land, I think at the moment, in the way the metagame stacked up over the last few days of the arena ladder, that was what you needed to do. You needed to go, okay, I've got basically no dead cards against Control and very few dead cards against Wilderness Reclamation. And I know that the metagame is not completely hostile to me because Sultai isn't actually doing that well at the moment. I only played against it a few times.
take better notes of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And at that level, possibly who opponents are and what time you're playing, because those two things, you might find you're playing the same opponents a lot. You might find that the times of the day change what deck you should be playing. And to walk away if you start losing, so that you can actually think about that games before you go into another one.
Yep, I think that's
and then there's good lessons and a very worthwhile effort that you put in.
I think so. Like I say, the fact that I was 500th and then went on this tear of losing made me feel pretty good, and that I can make it. Like, I feel like I can make it based on those results. Speaking of results,
yes, good segue.
We've got some modern results to talk about. So let's head over to our local results. So as we mentioned on the show last week, Geeks and Gamers are running a 1K invitational tournament in December, and they've got a bunch of qualifiers, basically 2 every month, hopefully, coming up. And last weekend, they had the modern event for the month. So congratulations to the winner, who obviously gets an invitation to that £1,000 tournament. Kind of crazy. And obviously congratulations to the entire top 8 who all walked away with a box of Allegiance.
No, I believe it might have been more than an Allegiance box.
Really? Okay.
I believe it might have been some sort of modern-related product.
Well, there were 68 players at this tournament. That's a pretty decent turnout. While Simeon's looking to see if I'm wrong about price structure, I'm just going to have a little rundown of the metagame. The highest deck... of note, thank you very much to Kirsty again.
The winner got a box of Ultimate Masters.
Ooh.
Everyone else is on Ravnica Allegiance.
Nice. And obviously the winner also got the invite to that 1K. Yeah. Again, the metagame. So the metagame breaks down like this: the most played single occurrence, the most played single deck is Mono Green Tron with 8 copies, so just over 11%, well, just under 12% of the metagame share. Next up, Teamer Phoenix. Now this is a little bit interesting. It's basically Is It Phoenix, but it is taking advantage of the fact that obviously you're putting a lot of spells in the graveyard and that kind of thing to sort of go, actually an Ancient Grudge out the sideboard probably isn't the worst plan. So that's basically the one green card, and there is a Breeding Pool and a Misty Rainforest in the mana base.
Grudge is...
But it means
red with a green flashback cost.
With a green flashback cost. Yeah, exactly. Which means obviously you can mill over it with Thought Scour. You can just dump it in the bin if you don't need it with Faithless Looting. These are useful things to have available to your anti-hate card. The top 8 version of this list actually had 3 Surgical Extraction in the main board. 2 has been the most common number I've seen, so really interesting to see 3, and 2 Snapcasters, which we actually spoke about this with David Carf when we had him on to talk about this deck. In Modern in general, we spoke about this deck. We're starting to see more Snapcaster mages coming into play with this deck. You know, even snapping back a Manamorphose, especially if you got like a Pyromancer's Ascension online. When you get a Pyromancer's Ascension online with this deck, it looks completely busted. Saw it a couple of times on camera at SCGs a few weeks ago. I keep looking at these lists and sort of going, do you reckon you could play more Pyromancer's Ascensions? They just seem like such a great alternate win con. But yes, that's a thing to be considering going forward. Next up, 4 Dredge, 4 Blue-Black Mill. We then get into the 3 ofs. We've got some Ad Nauseam, some Green-Black Rock Humans, Oh How the Mighty Have Fallen, some Blue-White Control, now down into the 2 ofs, Affinity, Amulet Titan, obviously one of the most complex decks to pilot in Modern, the Devoted Vizier combo, the Counters Company combo, Scapeshift, Infect, Burn, in Boros colours apparently here, And then straight blue-red Phoenix as only a 2 of. It kind of feels like there is a team that built this Team of Phoenix deck going, blue-red's fine, but we want this Ancient Grudge available to us. And so they gave themselves all a little bit more of a chance, and it looks like at least five members of that team probably joined together on that one. That would be my instinctive reading. It's also possible that somewhere posted a teamer version of the Phoenix list and everyone just went, "Ooh, that seems good," and picked it up. But I feel like this is a team innovation, certainly the way it looks. And then because it's modern, single occurrence decks took up 30% of the metagame, showing that once again, attempting to metagame into a modern event is a fool's errand.
Yeah, that seems fair. Shall we run through the top 8 decks?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
the winning deck was Infect.
Been a while since we've seen Infect.
That's
doing well,
one
so
of the two.
really cool.
Runner-up was your favourite Humans.
Humans, yes.
In the semi-finals, we had Blue-Black Mill and Team of Phoenix. And then in the quarterfinals, a blue-white control, a mono blue Tron, an Ad Nauseam, and a mono black mid-range.
So, yes. Let's start with mono blue Tron, because this is at least something that I vaguely understand. This is a control deck. For those of you who haven't seen this before, this is a Tron deck that doesn't play Karn or Ulamog, right? So the point with this deck is actually it's more of a control deck, ? It runs Chalice of the Voids, it runs Remands, that kind of thing, and it's still, got Ugin.
Right. Of course, you have Ugin.
Ugin is brilliant. But actually, one of its best, or at least funniest, ways to win is the Mindslaver lock. And that is... actually, let me just see if that can even be done in this deck. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. This deck doesn't seem to have the ability to Mindslaver lock someone. So for those of you... Oh, no, sorry, Academy Ruins. There we go. I was like, where is it? Let me just get my Academy Ruins up, and I will have a look at it and remind myself exactly the wording. So Mindslaver is a card that allows you to steal your opponent's turn. And unlike Emrakul, it doesn't even give them a turn back. You just steal their turn. And then what you do is, in your upkeep, because your Mindslaver has been sacrificed to take your opponent's turn, you have to give something up to steal this turn. And obviously it costs a massive amount of mana to run this. Academy Ruins in your own upkeep to put the Mindslaver back on top of your library.
And draw the Mindslaver.
Draw it again.
Carry on.
Play the Mindslaver, take their turn for them again, and just keep going like that until they're basically out of anything like the resources that they may need to win the game. And then you can go on and, win in kind of trivial ways with anything from walking ballistas to... I've seen people win with trinket mages attacking because every other turn they just steal their opponent's turn and just go, oh yeah, you picked up this and this, cool, let's just deal with everything that you're doing. It's an interesting deck, and it doesn't seem much play, but it's got some really cool loops going on. Yeah, I kind of enjoy it. And then mono black mid range. So yeah. This is really interesting.
Isn't this what this deck does?
So, yeah, I guess. But you've also got, obviously, Bob. Yeah. Dark Confidant is in there. That is a very good Magic card. Kalitas. I love Kalitas. I've missed Kalitas. I wish I could find a way.
Apparently, you can play mono black mid range in Modern.
Card. Apparently so. And Gonti as well. And Gifted Aetherborn. This has got a bunch of relatively new spells in it. Aetherborn, Kalitas, and Gonti are all... I consider them relatively new because they've been printed since I've been playing Magic. And then in the sideboard, obviously, there's in the spells section, you get access to all of the hand attack in black, which is a lot of it. You get some of the best removal in Magic. Fatal Push is excellent. This is actually running one Slaughter Pack just in case you needed an absolutely free way of killing your opponent's creatures. Also got Liliana of the Veil, which is, one of the most powerful planeswalkers ever printed. Backed up by her buddy, Liliana the Last Hope, potentially also another one of the most powerful planeswalkers ever printed. Especially in creature decks where you can go and get your pack rat back and recast it. Yeah, and just a bunch of, as you say, it's just mid-rangey stuff. And then obviously you get access to things like Fulminator Mage, because it's a Rakdos split card, basically. Damnation. Been a while since we've seen Damnation be played. Plaguecrafter in the sideboard as well. Very interesting to see that. Trying to get those Boggles players, I suppose, as well as just any deck running one massive threat. I'm looking at you, Ulamog.
Yes. No, I don't know who you mean, says Ulamog.
But yeah, this is a really interesting deck. I do suggest you go and check this out, folks, because if this is as good as this top 8 result suggests, that's really interesting to me. It does feel very much like the green-black rock decks, but not running any of the green, so you're losing out on Goif, Ooze, Tireless Tracker, you're losing out on Assassin's Trophy if you want it, and most likely Abrupt Decay as well, and possibly also Maelstrom Pulse would be nice. But what you make up for that is just sheer amount of like hand attack that you don't feel any qualms about playing. You know, maybe on your green black deck some of that ends up getting cut. No, there's 7 hand attack spells in the main board here, and Collective Brutality in the sideboard as well, just in case. And then obviously things like Damnation and Languish in the sideboard in case you come up against other creature decks. So yeah, interesting. Interesting. I would like to have known how that played out.
I'd like to have seen it being part.
Yeah, exactly. Just to see how it got where it went. It looks like a fantastic event. As I say, 68 players is a heck of a turnout. So congratulations to Geeks and Gamers. This looks like their 1K is going to be a very interesting event.
Yes.
Very much looking forward to seeing how that pans out over the next few months, running up to obviously the 1K in December. But I think with that, we kind of want to move on to our deep dive, Simeon.
So one thing we didn't mention when we talked about the Mythic Invitational was the thing that happened on the Sunday prior to the top 4 of the Invitational itself, and that was the launch of the War of the Spark spoiler season preview season. Guess we should call it a preview season.
Yeah, preview season is accurate, I think.
We started with a trailer. Now, unfortunately, they had some technical issues at PAX East when they were trying to show it, and so we all got to see the trailer without the sound. But I have watched it with the sound. Have you, Jack?
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. I was like, I don't want to spoil myself without the sound, so I'm going to just catch it on the YouTube. And in 2 days, it's amassed 5.6 million views. Yeah, it was top 5 trending at one point on Sunday.
That is a lot of views. It has all the feels in it. Definitely has all the feels. I love the storytelling in it. Going backwards and then seeing the events forwards are just awesome. They're also previewing every single card in the set. So it's not going to be on the last Friday we get a dump of 100 odd uncommons and commons. Every card from the commonest common to the mythicest rare is going to be previewed by somebody. And they're also doing it in a way where it's telling the story through their previews. And if you go onto the Wizards homepage, you can find a link to the war story scenes. And each day there'll be a new scene will be out, and it will show you all of the cards that have been released related to that scene. In fact, the scenes have been put into act. It's a real play, this. Act 2, which is sort of, as we're recording on Tuesday, happened yesterday and bit of today, really, is all of the Planeswalkers suddenly appearing. And there are a whole load of them. So we should probably talk about... for those people who, if you haven't seen the trailer, you need to see the trailer. We should also talk about the mechanics of this set.
So, to start with, yes, Planeswalkers, as you kind of alluded to in a past episode, Simeon, they are only going down to uncommon, but they are going down to uncommon. Some of them are reaching as far down
lots
to
of
uncommon.
Them are reaching down to uncommon.
Lots of them are, we've got 3 Mythic Walkers, not including the buyer box, and I will get into the buyer box in a minute. We've got several rare Planeswalkers. I don't actually know exact 13 rare Planeswalkers. Okay, so that's already 16 of our 36. That means that the last 20 are uncommon Planeswalkers. And yes, they have changed the way Planeswalkers act. I don't know if this is going to be a permanent thing or if this is only going to be for this set. To be fair, there's a lot of people saying that Planeswalkers will simply cease to exist after this. I personally don't believe it, but
it is a possibility.
There's talk of it's a possibility, exactly. So every Planeswalker now has a static ability as well as any loyalty abilities that they may have. These static abilities take effect as soon as the Planeswalker enters play, and they are many and various powerful and or marginally helpful and flavorful things. Angrath, Minotaur. A lot of Minotaurs have had Menace in the past. Creatures you control have Menace if you have Angrath on the battlefield under your control.
Yeah.
That's relatively flavorful. I quite like that.
Yeah. Sama creatures you control have Haste, which we know Sama is what she's known for.
Exactly. So that's the kind of the way that they're acting. Otherwise, they are still relatively straightforward Planeswalker cards in that they come in with loyalty. They have loyalty number affecting abilities. They can be attacked, they can be destroyed, yada, yada, yada. The thing that's really interesting is the way that they seem to have differentiated the rarities of Planeswalkers, and I really love this. So uncommon Planeswalkers only have one ability, and they only go down. So Kiora, who comes in with 7 loyalty, only has a -1 ability. So they can untap target permanent 7 times, unless obviously damage is dealt to the Kiora, before they leave the battlefield. Now, this is really interesting. So from a gameplay perspective, what this means is that what you end up with is maybe not wanting to tick your Planeswalker down all the way to 0 because they've got this static ability. You kind of just want to keep that,
it also
right?
means you don't necessarily activate it every time.
Exactly. And I think that's a really great way to stop Planeswalkers from being these super oppressive things, because they were, and a lot of people were like, oh, and a Planeswalker set? Like, that's going to be awful. The Planeswalkers are really horrid things to play against in Limited. And I was like, yeah, but they can do a lot of things with them. And what these Planeswalkers, these uncommon Planeswalkers remind me of the most is Sagas.
They do remind me of Sagas.
These look like Sagas to me.
But slightly more flexible Sagas.
Yes, absolutely. Flexible Sagas, but at the same time, similar power levels to many of the Sagas. So that's really interesting. The rare Planeswalkers have 2 abilities, 2 active abilities, I should say, as well as their static. And it looks like most of them will have a tick up and tick down mechanic.
They'll have a tick up and a tick down, but not an ultimate in the way we understand it.
Exactly. Exactly. Not in the way we understand an ultimate to be. So I'm looking at Vivian Reed here. Vivian, one of my favourites. 3 mana for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. The static ability of you may cast creature cards as though they had flash, so that could be real good. I'm going to flash in my 7/6 hexproof Implacable Death Wizard. That seems good. Their +1 is until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gains vigilance and reach. Again, this is a really interesting thing because it's like I can now play this kind of defensive-y creature game plan while also still attempting to beat you down. And again, my creatures have flash. If you attack me, I could just flash in, block, blow you out. Really powerful effects here. And then her -2 is look at the top 3 cards of your library. Exile 1 face down, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order, not a random order as has been happening recently, but obviously it's only 2 cards, so for as long as it remains exiled, you can obviously look at that card and then you can cast it if it's a creature card. So it doesn't work if it's a land or a non-creature spell,
except that your opponent doesn't know it's a land or a non-creature spell.
Exactly. You just keep looking at it as if you've got an ace card up your sleeve, like we could flash that in.
Not worth it yet.
No, never mind. Exactly. So yeah, really interesting. But as you say, no ultimate there. And then the final Planeswalkers, the mythic rare Planeswalkers, the ones that are still clearly the big dogs in this one, are Liliana, Death Horde General, and I love this card. This this is a Liliana I can get behind. The last Liliana, the M19 one, I was like, whatever, don't really care. This Liliana is my sort of Liliana. 4 black for a 6 loyalty planeswalker. Whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. Excellent.
And I note that does not say non-token.
No, it does not. I'm very happy about that part. +1, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token, which can die and draw you a card. -4, each player sacrifices 2 creatures. You will be drawing 2 cards if you have 2 creatures out to sacrifice. If you don't, you're not sacrificing 2 creatures. Either way, that seems fine. Your opponent sacrificing 2 creatures for -4 on a 6 loyalty planeswalker. Seems good. -9, so here's the ultimates. Each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest.
And
what
does
this
that
is,
not say? That doesn't say non-land.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hello, opponent. Would you like to go to 1 land, please?
Yeah, you can have 1 land, 1 creature, 1 artifact, 1 enchantment, 1 planeswalker, and nothing else. Against any opponent that is backbreaking. Like, they can be on any sort of deck, and as long as the 1 creature that they choose isn't an implacable death lizard that's about to kill you, that is game ending.
It really is.
As Liliana ultimates have tended to be. So yeah, that's the differentiation levels. Your mythic ones have got the 3 abilities, including the ultimate. Your rares have got your up and down, and as normal, but no ultimate. Uncommons have only got downs. Most of them seem to be forcing you to stay just above 0 loyalty with the abilities. Start on 5 and -2 ability, which is really interesting for gameplay. All of them have a static ability. Should be noted, proliferates.
It really should. That's one of the other mechanics. We haven't seen many proliferate cards yet.
Not as of yet. No, unfortunately not.
I imagine it's because we haven't reached that part of the story where it's relevant.
Yes, exactly.
So we're going to get them all together because they're going to come out with however proliferate is done in a story sense within the game. But it does mean that your planeswalkers will all be able to add to their loyalty from a proliferate card.
So the 1 proliferate card that we've got so far is Khan's Bastion.
I think we've got 2, but yeah.
You could be right, yes. So Khan's Bastion, which is a colourless land, and you can pay for and tap it to proliferate. And for those of you, including myself, that haven't actually ever played with proliferate, would you mind telling us what that
So you choose
means?
any number of permanents and or players, and then give each of them another counter of each kind they already have. Now, it used to be you'd have to pick 1 counter if they had 2 different types of counter. They now get 1 of each.
Oh yeah, so that's a slight rules update. And for things that are both, say, creatures and other things.
So a Gideon Planeswalker that's a creature.
I was thinking about Gideon Planeswalker.
That's the most likely card in this set, but it's also more likely players in formats where you might have energy counters and experience counters and poison counters. You'd get additional one of everything.
Yes, yeah. You can have an additional energy, but you're going to have to take an additional poison.
Oh, does that kill you? That's a shame.
What a terrible, terrible shame.
There was a card that was spoiled in the trailer, Flux Channeler. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, proliferate.
That could be real good.
It could. It's only an uncommon. Could get quite nuts. So obviously that helps those planeswalkers which have like 5 loyalty and -2s to get an extra activation. You've just got to proliferate once.
Another one, in fact, is Wanderer's Strike. We were talking about the Wanderer earlier. 4 and a white for a sorcery. 4 and a white for a sorcery. Exile target creature. Then proliferate.
Okay, so there's 3 examples that we've already had, and hopefully we'll get a few more. But you can also be proliferating to grow your army.
Yeah. So army tokens and amass is the last new mechanic. And this is kind of an interesting one because it kind of leads to what I would consider battle cruiser magic, which is usually, large creatures
like we had in
into each other.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And obviously amass has a flavour of you building up this massive army. And I believe most of them are in the Grixis, if not all of them are in the Grixis colours, because it's
yeah, I would, or even if he's doing it via Liliana, but yes. I would be shocked if any of it was outside of Grixis.
Same, absolutely. But the one card that a lot of people have been pretty hyped on, and I think maybe more hyped than perhaps they should be, Death Horde Invasion is 1 and a black for an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and amass 1. I'll get to amass in a moment. Whenever a zombie token you control with power 6 or greater attacks, it gains lifelink until end of turn. So obviously it attacks, gains all that life back that you've been losing to Death Horde Invasion. And amass says put a +1/+1 counter on an army you control. Some interesting things to note about what it doesn't say there as well. If you don't control one, create a 0/0 black zombie army creature token first, and then obviously put the +1/+1 counter on it. So if you don't have an army, you make a 1/1. If you do have an army and it's a 1/1, you turn it into a 2/2, and then a 3/3, and then eventually a 6/6. It attacks, gains lifelink, gains all the life,
and then next turn you lose a life and
make
gain
7/7.
And it's like, I think I've taken over the game.
Yes, precisely. So, interesting mechanic. In Limited, I think this is going to be very good.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to be seeing anywhere near as much of it in Standard as people might be imagining it, unless more cards come out that make me change my mind. Like, if some more cards come out and they look really good as well as being amass cards,
yeah, the issue is
something
obviously
else.
it's one creature card. And
exactly.
So
and you know what there's a ton of in Standard?
Removal.
Yeah. So
the Dreadhorde Invasion is slightly different in that, yes,
if they kill it, you're just making another 1/1,
again,
and it is just basically Bitter Blossom.
Back.
Yeah.
So that one is possible, a possibility for Standard, but. And yeah, I have done a search on Scryfall for amass, and everything so far is in Grixis.
I'm not surprised. But it's like widespread brutality. Amass 2, then the army you amass deals damage equal to its power to each non-creature army. And it's like, that seems really powerful as you go, I'm going to build this massive army and then I'm going to wrath everything except the army. And you go, okay, with widespread brutality on the stack, I will cast down your big 4/4 that's about to be a 6/6. You have a 2/2. You do 2 damage to everything. It kills none of my creatures, and you have a 2/2.
That is true against some decks, but take that against a white deck. Assuming we don't have
instant
flash,
speed removal,
exile effects. That white deck is a bit stuffed to widespread brutality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you do stop,
there's always going to be
even if you do kill the army, 2/2 is probably still enough to wipe most of your board away.
Yeah, even if you can kill the first one, because of the way it's worded,
you'll still get an army even if it's been removed before.
Exactly. You don't like target the army to put the counters on it or anything. It's just, you have one, okay, you put the counters on that one. Oh, you don't have one, you get one. And it checks as it resolves. It doesn't force you to target.
And if you happen to have 2 because you've copied it with a mirror image or whatever, then you can choose which one it goes on. And if someone kills one, they can't kill one in response to your choice because you still have that choice available. Once you've made the choice, the counters are there, basically.
Although I believe most copy effects would just make 0/0s. I could be wrong because they don't copy the counters. I've been considering this. I don't think there's a way in current standards to make
there was
2
something
armies.
mentioned, but it was not stuff from current standards, so mirror image might not work.
I mean, you could steal your opponent's one if
that's
you're
true.
running mass manipulation or what's the other one that Mono Blue plays?
Oh my goodness, mass manipulation. What's the army's
Convert mana cost is 0. Yeah, no. The not the other.
No,
not
the single one.
What's the other one? The one that
I keep getting my tokens stolen by it, and I can't remember. It's in the Mono Blue deck.
Yes.
Enchanted Melody?
No. Entrancing Melody.
Ouch. Yes. You don't want an army against that.
Yeah, Entrancing Melody. Yeah, blue, I'll have your 6/6, please.
You will no longer gain life with the 6/6.
Yeah, I've definitely had people do that, as you say, to my tokens. It's not fun when they're a 2/2. I can't imagine how bad it's going to feel when they just go,
yeah.
I think realistically in Standard, that's the only way of doing it.
Yeah, so
of being in
so
in a
let's say you did,
it.
and let's say you had instant speed, amass, and you could steal it with Angrath, of course. Instant speed and instant speed, amass, and you've got both your armies. You choose where the counter's going to go. Yes, you sacrifice it end of turn. Exactly.
And okay, so another thing to note, as I said before, the thing that amass doesn't say: put counters on an army you control. it does not say a black zombie army
No,
you control.
it doesn't.
A mass, it sounds like maybe, and this is slightly speculation, maybe there's going to be a way of making not black zombie army tokens, like armies of another variety. That was my first reading of it. It's like, put it on an army you control, and this one makes a zombie army if you don't have one. And it's like, but if I have a human army, I could just put it on the human army. Again, that I don't think that will be happening in this set, but what I think we will have is it leaves you open to do this again in the future.
Yes. Yeah, you could have armies of all sorts of creature types and have a creature type war set. So, like, go back to Lorwyn. Oh, exciting, exciting. Kind of right, mustn't get excited about things that aren't happening and concentrate on
because
things.
There are plenty of things that are exciting that are happening.
Not least of which is we can be pretty sure the gods from Amonkhet are back. We haven't seen their cards yet,
like it.
But they're going to be Eternals of some kind. The weird thing I found is the Eternals aren't 4/4s. I mean, thank goodness they're not all 4/4s, but weren't all the Eternals 4/4s? Oh, I don't know. No, they were meant to be, weren't they? Because Eternalize was a throw forward mechanic. That's what
I think
in
so.
the article
that was the
wrote
plan
last week before, and it didn't work well enough, so it got scrapped.
To be fair, a set filled with planeswalkers and 4/4s would be super
quite
weird.
Difficult to deal with, yes. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
So, do we think we're not sure about Amass coming into
No,
standard?
I think it's going to be very good for limited.
Proliferate, obviously,
standard.
It's a definite
standard.
standard.
It's going to be good for standard.
A card that is decent, a powerful card with Proliferate on is going to be really good because I've been going, oh my goodness, counters, +1/+1 counters, Proliferate. Hello.
Yes, there's definitely that. I can also see, I know at least one lunatic that's going to be doing this, the 5-colour walkers with Proliferate.
And I've been going, Loxodon looks even better now. Venerated
Loxodon does look
I'm
really
going to put
good.
5 counters on, and then the next turn I'm going to Proliferate.
So the Wanderer's Strike is a white spell, so maybe we'll get some more Proliferate in white, and maybe we'll get some better Proliferate in white.
Yes, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, that does seem pretty
How about the
good.
Planeswalkers? How much do you expect them to appear in standard?
So, obviously, the Mythic ones are just... They're just going to see some level of play. We don't even know... we know that one of the next ones is going to be Bolas.
And we know that it's
been
Gideon.
Spoiled, but
we do know it.
And
we know
is
the other one is Gideon.
Okay.
But we don't know what it says yet.
So this is the point I was going to make. It's been spoiled because there was a leak, but I'm not taking any notice
sad
of it
that it's on Mythic Spoiler because I'd actually rather they weren't there than the Mythic Spoiler.
Yeah, I'm not looking at Mythic Spoiler because they have those. I'm actually on Goldfish, their spoilers page, because they've got all the official spoilers as opposed to the fake ones as well.
So we have some events coming up where shortly you'll be able to play these lovely cards from Wall of Spark. But before then, this Sunday, April the 7th, Axion now has a Modern for Goodies. If you're interested to know what the goodies are, go and have a look at their Facebook page. There is a picture of the top 8 goodies. MKM Ghent is also coming up. That's on the 12th to the 14th of April. And then, Jack, in May we have a couple of MCQs.
Indeed we do. So we have our first sets of MCQs, and as Simeon says, they're all in May. May the 11th is the MCQ in Liverpool. Who's hosting that again, Simeon? That is Patriot. No,
it's Just Play Games.
Patriot Games. It's Just Play Games. You're right. That is. Patriot Games is hosting an MCQ in Sheffield on the 18th and 19th of May. That's one on the 18th and one on the 19th. Also, on the 18th of May, we've actually got Arcane Cards in collaboration with Eclectic Games. They're running a Modern Magic tournament with, I think it's £1,350 in prizes to be won in total. So that's a very interesting tournament going on there on the 18th of May at Arcane.
The weekend after is Axion's Mega Weekend. Saturday the 25th of May, it will be Standard and it will be the MCQ. And then on Sunday the 26th is Legacy, and also the other MCQ date. I don't think it will be a Legacy MCQ, so hopefully Standard or maybe Modern. And then Monday the 27th, Bank Holiday Monday, is definitely the Mega Modern that you should be booking now if you want to go. That will be filled up very quickly. It having the prize of a trip to a Magic Fest anywhere in the world, and a crate of All of the Spark for everyone else who makes top 8 makes it a definite must attend if you like the modern format.
Absolutely. So what would you be playing in standard best of 3 this weekend if you had an MCQ going on, Simeon?
If I had an MCQ, well, you know my answer, don't you, Jack? Partly because it had been doing badly this week. This week my tokens deck has been picking up again. I haven't played it a massive amount, and it might be because I've dropped down a number of rungs on the ladder, so that might be why it's feeling a lot stronger right now, but I would definitely be on tokens still. Fair enough.
The fact is that I would actually go back to Sultai at the moment. Like I say, the reason I got off of Sultai was Mono Blue. Mono Blue smashed us. It was appalling as a matchup. So, it's probably good enough to go back to now. I know how to play it. I like how it feels when I play it. So I'm going to go back to Sultai, I think. Yeah. Right then. Obviously, we had a set of top 8 lists from the Geeks and Gamers modern event today. Head over to standardintelligence.uk to check out the lists. Obviously, thank you again very much to Kirsty, head judge, for collecting those. They're also up on Kirsty's blog, so I'd check that out if you want a full tournament report. If you want to talk to either myself or Simeon, we are on Twitter. I am at JackPatton42. Simeon, you are?
I am at SimeonBMTG.
And obviously, if you want to talk to us about anything longer form, Gmail, standardpattern@gmail.com is probably the best place. We have a YouTube. All of our episodes go up on YouTube. If you would do the YouTube things, that would be very helpful to us. It also has on there my VODs from my stream. I stream over on Twitch. I am JackPatton_MTG. I didn't do a massive amount of streaming last week. There was some real life stuff going on that I had to deal with. And there was also the fact that, when I was playing, I was trying to grind for the top 1,000 and not doing particularly well, which meant that I needed as much focus as I could lay my hands on. And streaming is kind of tricky, actually, interacting with chat. And I like interacting with chat. It makes it fun. But yeah, on that last little grind, I just didn't feel like I could. But I'll be back this week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday. We also now have a Facebook. Please do head over to our Facebook on the Facebooks. Standard Intelligence UK is the search. It'd be really great to see you over there, posting relevant things on a semi-regular basis on the Facebook. So yeah, we'd also like to give a shout out to our sponsors again. Axion Now. They are brilliant partners to have in this sort of thing, and they sell a wide range of singles, and so you can actually go and trade in your cards if you wanted to, and if you wanted store credit, you get a slightly better rate of return. They also sell a bunch of sealed product, so be looking out for their Challenger decks and the War of the Spark sealed product. You can also get basically all of the equipment that you could need to play Magic. You'll find a list of the upcoming events on their website. As we've already discussed, there's some really good events coming up. There's a 7th of April Modern for Goodies, and then obviously the Mega Modern is going to be the big weekend for the foreseeable future. That's going to be a really big weekend of absolutely amazing Magic. You can also find articles and videos by some of the best Magic players in the UK over on their website. They have actually started posting a series of modern articles by some of the best players in the UK. And Autumn actually did a video with their mono blue list from the MCQ. So you could go over and watch them play that, which would be pretty good. We'd also like to thank once again our patrons over on our Patreon. You guys are amazing, and it's really great to have you. Sorry, you folks are amazing, and It's really great to have you along for us, with us on this journey. And for those of you who are pledged $3 and above, watch out this week, because you will be getting my full interviews with other content creators such as Zuby from Magic with Zuby, Abby from Master of Magics, and Pleasant Kenobi from Pleasant Kenobi, and also Channel Fireball now. I'm interviewing or have interviewed those content creators about the act of content creation, and all of the completely unedited interviews will be going up on our Patreon So if you are a member of our Patreon at the $3 or above level, you'll have access to all 3 of those. Because next week's episode will be talking about our interviews and discussing what the answers like mean for content creators and that kind of thing in a broader sense. And obviously a little bit tricky to give an early access for that sort of episode. So instead you're just getting the interviews in their entirety. So if anyone else is interested, do go and check out those over on our Patreon. Thank you all very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Goodbye.